In the Saturday morning session of conference, Elder Ulisses Soares of the Quorum of the 12 spoke to us about compassion. And this is really interesting what he teaches. Compassion was one of the most striking principles taught by the Saviour during his earthly ministry. Striking as in this is something that gets our attention. Christ's example offers a perfect model of how to interact with compassion with others, a perfect model, an ideal example that we can look to that isn't always easy to replicate, but the greatest form of worship is imitation. So as we seek to imitate Christ's example with sincerity, it will be a great blessing to us. He says the compassionate attitude of Jesus is rooted in charity, namely in his pure and perfect love, which is the essence of his atoning sacrifice. Compassion is a fundamental characteristic of those who strive for sanctification. And this divine quality intertwines with other Christian traits, such as mourning with those who mourn and having empathy, mercy, and kindness. There's a lot to examine there. It's a powerful statement that compassion is rooted in charity, charity being the pure love of Christ, undiluted, unpolluted, constant, everlasting. And so his pure and perfect love is the essence of his atoning sacrifice. Without that characteristic of divine love, that perfect love, unyielding, unending, fully whole love, that love was integral to his character, and the atonement would have been impossible without it. And of course, compassion is rooted in that perfect love, and that idea of that interest in others' welfare, that loving concern, that regard that we have for other people is grounded in divine charity. For it to be perfect, it needs to be grounded in a love that's everlasting. And so it's a fundamental characteristic of people who strive for sanctification. To be sanctified is to be holy, to be made sacred, to become sacred, set apart for a holy purpose. And so that's a fundamental, an essential or elemental characteristic of those who strive to be sanctified and purified. And that divine quality mixes and converges with other Christian traits, as he describes them, traits being qualities, attributes that become a part of us, become part of our nature, such as mourning with those who mourn and having empathy, mercy, and kindness. Mourning with those who mourn, how important that is, that we are sensitive to the challenges faced by others and their feelings about same, and that we can mourn with them, we can weep with them, we can show tender regard, we can cry with them and be concerned about their lives. And that empathy, trying to put ourselves in their place, trying to understand to the degree we can of what they are sensing, and showing mercy and compassion and kind regard. Mercy is so important, that we are merciful towards others, and kindness and respect and all those great principles. And these are the principles that we grow into as we mature in our understanding of the gospel, and as we become more personally perfected, as we ourselves grow and mature in spiritual things, we become more likely to extend that empathy and merciful kindness and compassion to the people that we associate with. It becomes a part of our nature. And so Christ was a compassionate man, tender and loving and generous and merciful. And we can be likewise. All are in need of God's understanding and mercy. We're all imperfect. And as we strive to do better, strive to be perfect, God will bless us with understanding hearts and deep, eternal compassion.